It started like any routine morning at the airport. Travelers shuffled through security, coffee in hand, boarding passes ready. The hum of conversation mixed with the beep of scanners and the rumble of luggage wheels. Everything felt ordinary, predictable, safe, until one sound shattered it all. A bark. Sharp, urgent, desperate. The entire terminal froze. Near Gate 14, a massive German shepherd in a black K9 vest lunged forward with such force that his handler stumbled. The leash snapped taut. His paws scraped against the polished tile. His growl echoed through the crowded space like a warning siren cutting through fog. Officer Kira Voss gripped the leash with both hands, boots bracing against the floor. "Rex, heel," she commanded, voice tight. But the dog didn't obey. He never disobeyed. Not like this. His eyes were locked, unblinking, burning with something she had only seen once before. During a bomb threat that saved 200 lives. Rex's focus was fixed on a single person in the boarding line, a woman in her early 30s, dark hair pulled into a neat bun, gray coat, designer handbag, expensive sunglasses perched on her head. She looked like any other business traveler, calm, composed, unbothered. But Rex saw something no human could. The woman glanced at the dog, just once, a flicker of recognition, then fear. She took a step backward. Rex barked again, louder this time, his entire body trembling with restrained fury. Passengers gasped. Some stepped away. Others pulled out phones, recording the chaos unfolding before them. Kira's pulse hammered. "What is it, boy?" she whispered. "What do you see?" The woman turned sharply, clutching her carry-on bag tighter. She tried to walk away, casual, unhurried, but her hands were shaking. Rex wouldn't let her go. He pulled harder, muscles straining, chest heaving with the urgency of a soldier who'd spotted the enemy. A TSA officer rushed over. "Ma'am, we need you to stop." The woman froze. Her face went pale. "I haven't done anything wrong," she said, voice steady but too controlled, too rehearsed. Kira stepped closer, studying her, the trembling fingers, the forced smile, the way her eyes kept darting toward the exit. "Then you won't mind if we check your bag," Kira said quietly. The woman's jaw tightened. "I'm going to miss my flight." "We'll make this quick," Kira replied, but her instincts were screaming now. Rex didn't react like this without reason. He had been trained for years. Bombs, drugs, weapons, human trafficking. If he was this desperate, something was terribly, dangerously wrong. The woman slowly set her bag on the conveyor belt. Her hands hovered over it for just a second too long, like she was saying goodbye to something precious. The X-ray monitor flickered to life, and what appeared on the screen made every officer in the room go silent, because hidden beneath layers of clothing and toiletries was something no mother should ever carry. Something that would expose a network so dark, so twisted, that even seasoned agents would struggle to sleep at night. Rex barked one more time. Sharp, final, definitive. He had found her, and now the entire world was about to learn the truth. What happened next would shake the TSA to its core. It would unravel a conspiracy that spanned 3 countries. And it would prove once again that sometimes the bravest protector in the room doesn't wear a badge. He wears fur. Before we continue, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. 6 hours earlier, the morning had begun like any other for Officer Kira Voss. The alarm buzzed at 5:30. She rolled out of bed, stretched, and looked down at the foot of her mattress where Rex lay curled, eyes already open, watching her. "Morning, partner," she whispered. His tail thumped once against the floor. A greeting, a promise, another day of duty. Kira had been working with K9 units for 8 years, but Rex was different. He wasn't just trained. He was intuitive. He could sense danger before it materialized. Could read people the way most officers read case files. His nose could detect traces of explosives from 50 feet away. His ears could catch the faintest tremor in a liar's voice. But more than that, he understood her. When she was anxious, he pressed his head against her knee. When she doubted herself, he looked at her with eyes that said, I trust you. Trust yourself. They had been partners for 4 years. 4 years of raids, rescues, and close calls. 4 years of saving lives together. And in all that time, Rex had never been wrong. Not once. The drive to the airport was quiet. The city was still waking up, streetlights flickering off one by one as the sun crept over the horizon. Kira sipped her coffee, eyes scanning the road ahead. Rex sat in the back seat, nose pressed to the window, watching the world pass by. Big day today. Buddy, she said. International terminal. Lots of travelers. Lots of bags. Rex's ears twitched. He knew what that meant. More work, more people to protect. When they arrived, the airport was already buzzing. Families rushed toward check-in counters. Business travelers tapped furiously on laptops. Children clung to stuffed animals, wide-eyed and sleepy. Kira clipped Rex's leash and adjusted his vest. The black fabric gleamed under the fluorescent lights, the word police stitched across his back in bold white letters. Let's go to work, she said. They moved through the terminal in perfect sync. Kira's eyes scanned faces. Rex's nose scanned the air. Together they were a single unit, a living, breathing security system that no machine could replicate. For 2 hours, everything was routine. A forgotten water bottle in a backpack. A nervous teenager with contraband vape pens. A businessman who'd packed his hunting knife in his carry-on. Standard, predictable, boring even. But then, just before 9 o'clock, everything changed. Rex stopped walking. His body went rigid, ears shot forward, tail stiffened. Kira felt it instantly. The shift, the tension rippling through the leash like an electric current. What is it? She murmured. Rex's nose lifted. He inhaled deeply. Once, twice. His eyes scanned the crowd, cutting through the sea of faces like a laser. And then he saw her, the woman in the gray coat. She was standing in the boarding line for Flight 447 to Geneva. Her posture was perfect, her expression calm, but something about her made Rex's instincts scream. Kira followed his gaze. Her? Rex growled, low, deep, unmistakable. Kira's stomach tightened. She trusted Rex more than she trusted her own eyes. If he sensed danger, danger was real. She keyed her radio. Control, this is Voss. I've got a possible alert at Gate 14. Requesting backup. Copy that, the voice crackled. En route. The woman in the gray coat glanced at her watch, then at the gate, then for just a split second, at Rex. And in that fleeting moment, Kira saw it. The recognition, the fear, the guilt. Rex barked, sharp, commanding, urgent. And just like that, the ordinary morning became something else entirely. The woman's fingers tightened around the handle of her carry-on bag. Her breathing quickened. Just slightly. Just enough. Kira saw it all, and so did Rex. Ma'am, Kira called out, stepping forward. Can you step aside for a moment, please? The woman turned slowly. Her smile was polite, practiced. Is there a problem, officer? Just routine, Kira replied, but her hand rested near her holster, just in case. Rex stepped forward, his body a wall between Kira and the woman. His growl deepened. A warning, a promise. The woman's smile faltered. Your bag, ma'am, Kira said quietly. We need to inspect it. For a moment, the terminal seemed to hold its breath. Travelers slowed. Conversations died. All eyes turned toward the woman in the gray coat. And in that silence, Rex's instinct spoke louder than words, because deep in his chest, his heart pounded with the certainty of a guardian who had just found his prey. The woman hesitated, just for a heartbeat. But that hesitation told Kira everything she needed to know. Ma'am, Kira repeated, her voice firmer now. Please place your bag on the table. The woman's eyes darted left, then right, calculating, searching for an exit. But there was none. Security officers were already moving into position, forming a quiet perimeter around the gate. She had nowhere to run. Slowly, reluctantly, the woman lifted her carry-on and set it on the metal inspection table. Her hands trembled as she pulled them away, clasping them together in front of her chest. Thank you, Kira said, stepping closer. Rex moved with her, his eyes never leaving the woman's face. Another TSA officer approached with a portable scanner. Want me to run it through again? Kira nodded. Full scan. Deep layers. The officer unzipped the bag carefully, methodically. Inside, everything looked normal. A laptop, folded blouses, a toiletry bag, a pair of heels wrapped in tissue paper. But Rex didn't relax. His nose twitched. His body remained taut, coiled, ready. There's something else, Kira murmured. Keep looking. The officer dug deeper, lifting the clothing, checking the seams. Then his fingers brushed against something hard, hidden beneath a false bottom. He paused. His expression darkened. Officer Voss, he said quietly, you need to see this. Kira leaned in. The officer peeled back a layer of fabric, revealing a concealed compartment. Inside were 3 plastic-wrapped bundles, each one carefully sealed, each one labeled with handwritten codes. Kira's blood ran cold. What is that? The officer whispered. Not explosives, Kira said, her mind racing. Not drugs either. She looked at Rex. His gaze was still locked on the woman, but now something else flickered in his eyes. Not anger, not aggression, sorrow. Kira turned back to the woman. What are these? The woman's face had gone pale. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She said nothing. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you one more time, Kira said, her voice low and steady. What are you carrying? Silence. Rex stepped forward. His nose brushed against the edge of the bag. Then he sat, a trained signal, the kind he only gave for one specific thing. Kira's heart sank. Human biological samples, she whispered. The TSA officer's eyes widened. What? Kira grabbed her radio. Control, we need a biohazard team at Gate 14 immediately, and get me a supervisor, now. The woman finally spoke, her voice barely audible. You don't understand. Then help me understand, Kira said, stepping closer. The woman's eyes filled with tears. I'm a mother. Kira froze. What does that have to do with this? Everything, the woman whispered. It has everything to do with this. And in that moment, Kira realized this wasn't just a smuggling case. This was something far darker, far more personal. Rex whined softly. His instincts had been right, but even he couldn't have known how deep this rabbit hole would go. Within minutes, the gate was swarmed. Officers in hazmat suits arrived, cordoning off the area. Passengers were evacuated to a secondary terminal. The woman was placed in restraints, her carry-on bag sealed in a containment unit. Kira stood off to the side, watching it all unfold. Her mind raced. Human biological samples. A mother. A hidden compartment. Nothing about this made sense. A senior TSA supervisor approached, clipboard in hand. His name tag read, Supervisor Harlan Moss. Officer Voss, he said, his tone clipped. Walk me through it. Kira recounted every detail. Rex's alert, the woman's hesitation, the hidden compartment, the plastic-wrapped bundles. Moss listened in silence, his expression growing grimmer with each sentence. You're saying your dog detected biological material? He asked. Rex is trained for it, Kira replied. He's never been wrong. Moss nodded slowly. We'll need to run tests, but if what you're saying is true, this woman could be part of something much bigger. What do you mean? Moss lowered his voice. 3 months ago, Interpol issued a global alert. There's been a surge in illegal organ and tissue trafficking, people smuggling biological samples across borders for black market transplants. We've had 2 cases flagged in Europe, 1 in South America. Kira's stomach turned. You think she's connected? I think your dog just stopped something catastrophic, Moss said. If those samples were destined for an illegal transplant operation, you may have just saved lives. Kira looked down at Rex. He sat calmly beside her, tongue lolling, eyes bright. To him, this was just another day, just another job. But to Kira, it was everything. Good boy, she whispered, scratching behind his ears. You did so good. Rex's tail wagged once, a humble acceptance of praise. But the story was far from over, because as the biohazard team carried the woman's bag away, Kira noticed something. The woman wasn't crying anymore. She wasn't pleading or begging. She was smiling, a cold, knowing smile that sent chills down Kira's spine. What are you hiding? Kira muttered under her breath. And as if in answer, the woman's phone buzzed in the evidence tray. The screen lit up with a single text message. Package delayed. Initiate contingency. Kira's heart stopped. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. Kira snatched the phone from the evidence tray, her pulse hammering. The message glowed on the screen like a warning flare. Package delayed. Initiate contingency. Moss, she called, holding up the device. We've got a problem. The supervisor crossed the room in 3 strides, eyes narrowing as he read the message. His jaw clenched. That's a burner number, encrypted routing. Someone's waiting for her, Kira said, and they know she's been stopped. Moss turned toward the woman, who sat calmly in her chair, wrists cuffed, expression unreadable. Ma'am, who sent this message? The woman didn't answer. She simply tilted her head, studying them like specimens under glass. Ma'am, Moss repeated, his tone hardening. You're facing federal charges, trafficking biological materials across international borders, conspiracy. If you cooperate now, we can help you. Still nothing. Rex growled softly. His instincts flared again. Not at the woman this time. At the phone. Kira knelt beside him. What is it, buddy? The dog's nose twitched. He leaned toward the phone, sniffing carefully. Then he barked. Once. Sharp. Kira's eyes widened. There's more. More what? Moss asked. Rex is trained to detect biological residue. If he's alerting on the phone, that means whoever sent this message has been in direct contact with contaminated materials. Moss cursed under his breath. We need to trace this number. Now. He turned to one of the cybersecurity officers standing nearby. Get this to the tech team. I want the origin point, the routing path, and every device it's pinged in the last 72 hours. The officer nodded and disappeared into the secured area. Kira turned back to the woman. Why are you doing this? For the first time, the woman's mask cracked. Her eyes glistened. Her voice trembled. You wouldn't understand. Try me. The woman looked down at her hands. My daughter is dying. The words hung in the air like smoke. Kira's breath caught. What? She's 9 years old, the woman whispered. She has a rare genetic disorder. Her kidneys are failing. She's been on the transplant list for 3 years. 3 years of watching her fade. 3 years of waiting for a miracle that never comes. Kira's chest tightened. So you turned to the black market. The woman nodded slowly. They promised me a match, a perfect match. All I had to do was carry the samples across the border. They said it was the only way. Who are they? Moss demanded. The woman shook her head. I don't know. I never met them. Everything was done online. Encrypted messages, anonymous payments. Then how were you supposed to deliver the samples? There's a locker, the woman said. Terminal 3, locker 247. I was supposed to leave the bag there. Someone would pick it up within the hour. Moss grabbed his radio. All units, I need eyes on Terminal 3, locker 247. Do not approach, observe only. Static crackled. Then a voice responded. Copy that, moving into position. Kira studied the woman's face. The desperation, the guilt, the raw, aching love of a mother willing to cross every line to save her child. I'm sorry, Kira said quietly. I'm sorry about your daughter. But what you were carrying, those samples could have come from anywhere, from anyone. You could have been part of something that hurt other families, other children. The woman's tears spilled over. I know, she whispered. I know. But when you're watching your child die, you stop thinking about right and wrong. You just think about saving them. Kira didn't respond. She couldn't, because deep down she understood. She understood the desperation, the helplessness, the willingness to sacrifice everything. But understanding didn't change the law, and it didn't change what Rex had found. Moss's radio crackled again. Supervisor, we've got eyes on the locker. No visible activity. Awaiting further orders. Moss turned to Kira. What do you think? I think we need to set a trap, she said. Use the locker as bait. See who shows up. Agreed. Moss keyed his radio. All units maintain surveillance. If anyone approaches locker 247, apprehend immediately. Use extreme caution. Suspect may be armed and dangerous. Kira looked down at Rex. You up for another round, partner? The German shepherd's ears perked. His tail wagged. His eyes gleamed with focus. That was answer enough. Within 15 minutes, Kira and Rex were positioned in Terminal 3, tucked behind a row of vending machines with a clear line of sight to the locker bank. Two undercover agents posing as travelers sat nearby, pretending to read newspapers. Another officer monitored the security cameras from a control room upstairs. The terminal was busy. Travelers rushed past, oblivious to the operation unfolding around them. Kira's hand rested on Rex's back. She could feel his heartbeat. Steady, strong, ready. "Patience," she whispered. "We wait." 10 minutes passed, then 20. Kira's legs began to ache from crouching. Her eyes strained from staring at the same row of lockers. Then Rex's ears twitched. Kira's breath caught. "What do you hear?" The dog's body tensed. His nose lifted. He sniffed once, twice, and then he saw him. A man in a black jacket and baseball cap walked casually toward the locker bank. He glanced left, then right. Then he pulled a small key from his pocket. Kira's pulse spiked. "Control, we've got movement. Male suspect approaching target locker." "Copy that," came the reply. "Stand by." The man inserted the key into locker 247. The metal door swung open. He reached inside and froze. The locker was empty. For a split second, confusion crossed his face. Then realization, then panic. He spun around, searching the crowd. His eyes darted. His hand moved toward his jacket. "He's armed," Kira hissed into her radio. "Move in, now." The undercover agents sprang into action. "Police, hands where we can see them." The man bolted. He shoved past a family, knocked over a luggage cart, and sprinted toward the exit. Rex launched forward, pulling Kira with him. The leash snapped taut as the dog's powerful legs devoured the distance in seconds. "Rex, pursue!" The German shepherd's instincts took over. He weaved through the crowd like a heat-seeking missile, focused entirely on the fleeing suspect. The man burst through the terminal doors and into the parking garage. His footsteps echoed off concrete walls as he raced toward a waiting van, but Rex was faster. He closed the gap in seconds, leaping forward and clamping his jaws onto the man's jacket sleeve. The suspect screamed, stumbling, crashing to the ground. "Get him off me!" the man shouted, thrashing wildly. Kira sprinted up, weapon drawn. "Don't move!" The man froze. Rex held firm, growling deep in his throat. Within seconds, backup arrived. Officers swarmed the garage, weapons raised, voices shouting commands. The suspect was cuffed and hauled to his feet. Kira knelt beside Rex, her hands trembling as she stroked his fur. "Good boy," she whispered. "You're the best." Rex's tail wagged. His eyes sparkled with pride. But as officers searched the suspect, they found something that made everyone go silent. A hospital ID badge, a surgical kit, and a handwritten list of names, children's names. Kira's stomach dropped. "This isn't just trafficking," Moss said, his voice hollow. "This is a harvesting operation." And somewhere in the distance, a phone buzzed with another message. One candidate lost. 12 remain. The garage fell into stunned silence. The words on the screen felt like ice water down Kira's spine. One candidate lost. 12 remain. Moss stared at the message, his face ashen. 12 more, he whispered. There are 12 more out there. Kira's mind raced. 12 children, 12 families desperate enough to turn to the black market. 12 mothers like the woman in the gray coat, willing to do anything to save their sons and daughters. And somewhere hidden in the shadows was an organization harvesting organs from the innocent to sell to the desperate. "We need to move fast," Moss said, turning to his team. "Get this suspect into interrogation. I want everything, names, locations, contacts, and get Interpol on the line. This is bigger than one airport." The suspect was dragged away, still shouting threats and curses, but his voice faded into the distance, drowned out by the roar of Kira's thoughts. She looked down at Rex. The dog sat calmly beside her, panting softly, eyes bright. To him, the job was done. He had caught the bad guy, protected the innocent, but Kira knew better. This was just the beginning. Back in the interrogation room, the suspect sat in silence. His name was Tavian Cross, age 37, no prior criminal record. On paper, he was a logistics coordinator for a medical supply company, but the list of children's names in his pocket told a different story. Moss slid the list across the table. 12 names, 12 children. Where are they? Tavian didn't answer. He simply stared at the wall, jaw clenched, eyes cold. You're looking at multiple counts of conspiracy to commit murder, Moss continued. Trafficking, racketeering. You're going away for life. But if you cooperate, if you tell us where those children are, we can talk to the prosecutor. Still nothing. Kira stood in the corner, arms crossed, watching. She had seen hardened criminals break under interrogation, seen them cry, beg, confess. But Tavian was different. He wasn't scared. He wasn't nervous. He was waiting. What's he waiting for? Kira murmured to herself. Moss leaned forward. Who do you work for? Tavian's lips curled into a faint smile. You think I'm afraid of you? You should be, Moss said. No, Tavian replied. You should be afraid of them. Who's them? Tavian's smile widened. The ones who built this. The ones who've been doing this for years. You caught one courier, one bag, one suspect. He leaned back in his chair, eyes glinting. But you have no idea how deep this goes. Kira's stomach turned. Moss slammed his hand on the table. Where are the children? Tavian laughed, a cold, hollow sound. You'll never find them in time. Try me. They're already gone, Tavian said. By the time you figure out where they were, they'll be in another country, another facility, and those 12 families will get their miracles. At the cost of 12 other lives, Kira said, stepping forward. 12 innocent people, murdered, harvested. Tavian shrugged. Supply and demand. That's how the world works. Kira's hands clenched into fists. She wanted to scream, to shake him, to make him see the horror of what he was saying. But before she could speak, her phone buzzed. A message from the tech team. We traced the burner number. Origin point is a server in Geneva, but it's routing through multiple VPNs, still working on the exact location. Geneva, the same city the woman in the gray coat was flying to. Kira's mind clicked into place. It's a hub, she said aloud. Moss turned. What? Geneva. It's not just a destination. It's a distribution center. The samples were supposed to go there. That's where the buyers are. Moss grabbed his phone. Get me the Swiss Federal Police, now. Within minutes, an international alert was issued. Swiss authorities raided the address linked to the server, storming a private clinic on the outskirts of the city. What they found inside would make headlines around the world. 12 children, all sedated, all prepped for surgery, and a team of doctors ready to harvest their organs. The raid happened at 3 in the morning, Geneva time. Swiss tactical units breached the clinic in under 60 seconds, weapons raised, voices shouting commands in French and German. Inside, the scene was sterile, clinical, horrifying. 12 operating tables, 12 children strapped down, 12 IV lines pumping sedatives into small, fragile arms. The doctors tried to run, tried to destroy evidence, but it was too late. Every child was saved, every doctor was arrested, and the entire operation was exposed. Back at the airport, Kira watched the news footage on her phone. Tears streamed down her face as she saw the children being carried out of the clinic. Wrapped in blankets, safe. Moss stood beside her, his voice quiet. You did this, Voss. You and Rex. Kira shook her head. Rex did this. She knelt beside the German shepherd, wrapping her arms around his neck. You saved them, boy. You saved all of them. Rex licked her cheek, tail wagging gently. And for the first time in hours, Kira allowed herself to breathe. But the story wasn't over yet. Because as the Swiss authorities interrogated the doctors, one name kept appearing in their files. A name that sent shock waves through every intelligence agency in the world. The broker, an international criminal mastermind who had been operating in the shadows for over a decade. Responsible for hundreds of illegal transplants, thousands of victims, and now, thanks to Rex, they finally had a lead. The hunt was on. And Kira Voss and her four-legged partner were at the center of it. The sun was rising over the airport when Kira finally allowed herself to sit down. Her legs ached, her mind felt heavy, but her heart felt lighter than it had in years. Rex lay beside her, head resting on his paws, eyes half closed, exhausted but content. Moss approached, holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Kira. "Thought you could use this," he said. "Thanks," Kira replied, taking a sip. The warmth spread through her chest, grounding her. "Interpol wants to talk to you," Moss said. "They're building a task force, going after the broker. They want you and Rex on the team." Kira looked down at her partner. "What do you think, boy? Ready to catch the bad guys?" Rex's tail thumped once against the floor. That was answer enough. Moss smiled. "You know, in all my years, I've never seen anything like this. A dog stopping an international trafficking ring. It sounds like something out of a movie." "He's not just a dog," Kira said softly. "He's a hero." And as the first light of dawn spilled through the terminal windows, Kira realized something. Heroes don't always wear capes. They don't always carry badges. Sometimes they walk on 4 legs. Sometimes they bark instead of speak. Sometimes they see danger where humans see nothing at all. And sometimes they save the world one brave act at a time. Rex had done more than stop a crime. He had stopped a nightmare. He had given 12 children their lives back. He had exposed a network of evil that had operated unchecked for far too long, and he had done it all with nothing but instinct, training, and an unbreakable bond with his handler. Kira scratched behind his ears. "You're the best partner I've ever had." Rex looked up at her, eyes warm and trusting. And in that moment, Kira knew she would follow him anywhere. Trust him with anything. Because when it came to protecting the innocent, Rex didn't just do his job. He did it with his whole heart. 3 weeks later, Kira stood in a crowded conference room at Interpol headquarters in Lyon, France. Screens flickered with surveillance footage, maps, and data streams. Agents from 12 countries filled the space, all focused on a single goal: bring down the broker. "Officer Voss," a voice called. She turned to see Commander Alara Thorne, head of the International Task Force. "Commander," Kira said, nodding. "Your dog's alert at the airport was the breakthrough we needed," Thorne said. "We've identified 3 more clinics. 2 in Eastern Europe, 1 in Southeast Asia, all connected to the same network." "When do we move?" Kira asked. "Coordinated raids in 72 hours, Thorne replied. "We hit them all at once, and we need Rex on the ground in Prague. We believe that's where the broker is hiding." Kira's pulse quickened. "We'll be ready." Thorne placed a hand on her shoulder. "This operation wouldn't exist without you, without him." Kira looked down at Rex, who sat calmly by her side, oblivious to the weight of what he had started. "He doesn't do it for the glory," Kira said softly. "He does it because it's right." Thorne smiled. "Then he's exactly the kind of hero the world needs." 72 hours later, simultaneous raids erupted across 3 continents. SWAT teams stormed clinics. Evidence was seized. Suspects were arrested by the dozens. And in a crumbling warehouse on the outskirts of Prague, Kira and Rex cornered the man they had been hunting, the broker. He was older than she expected. Gray hair, wire-rimmed glasses. He looked like a grandfather, not a monster. But when he smiled, Kira saw the truth. The coldness, the calculation. "You think this ends with me?" he said, hands raised. "It's a start," Kira replied. Rex growled low, eyes locked on the man. The broker laughed. "That dog of yours, impressive. He's cost me a lot of money." "Good," Kira said. As backup flooded the warehouse, the broker was cuffed and led away. His empire was crumbling, his network exposed. And it all started because one dog refused to let a dangerous woman board a plane. Back at the airport, weeks later, life returned to normal. Travelers hurried through security. Planes took off and landed. The world kept turning. But in a quiet corner near Gate 14, a bronze plaque was unveiled, in honor of Rex, K9 hero, whose instincts and courage saved 12 lives and exposed an international trafficking network. Kira stood before the plaque, tears in her eyes. Rex sat beside her, tail wagging gently. A young girl approached, no older than 8. She looked at Rex with wide, curious eyes. "Is he the hero dog?" she asked. Kira smiled. "He is." The girl knelt down, stroking Rex's fur. "Thank you for saving people." Rex licked her hand gently and the girl giggled. Kira watched, heart full. Because that's what heroes do. They don't ask for thanks, they don't seek applause, they just do what's right. Over and over again, without hesitation, without fear. And sometimes, the greatest heroes are the ones who can't even speak. As the sun set over the airport, Kira and Rex walked side by side toward the exit. The terminal glowed with golden light. The world felt peaceful, but Kira knew the truth. There would always be more threats, more dangers, more people who needed saving. And as long as Rex was by her side, she was ready. Because together, they were unstoppable. Together, they were hope. And together, they proved that sometimes the loudest bark in the world is the one that saves a life. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true emotional stories. And remember, real heroes come in all forms. Some with badges, some with paws, but all with hearts that refuse to give up.